Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. Um, Trying out this streaming solution here that I've got, and we're going to do a little bit of trip planning. Hopefully, everybody can hear me. Spence, if you're still on and can can confirm that in the chat, I would appreciate that. Um, in May, I'm heading down to the Adventure Expo Appalachia, and that's down near the New River Gorge, which is, relatively recently a national park. I think it's still the newest one in the U.S. And after a few days at that event, where I'm going to be part of their Creator Pavilion, I think they're calling it, I thought it would be kind of cool to go down to the Virginia Adventure Trail and spend a few days making my way back up north via that route. I've put links for both that event, the Expo Adventure Appalachia, and the Virginia Adventure Trail into the description for this video. So you can take a look at that. But basically, the VAT is about 650 miles. It's a self-guided overland route that can be run either way, north to south or south to north, and connects a bunch of the off-road trails and forest roads in the state of Virginia. And I've not done it before, and it sounded like a pretty good time. So the idea here this evening is to plan that route out, hopefully with help from everybody on the live stream, and maybe we can have some discussion about if you've got experience down there, or if there's something you're trying to plan in that area as we get into it as well. But basically, the agenda I'm going to follow for this evening, we're kind of in this intro portion down here, and we're going to talk a little bit about the constraints and assumptions that I've got for my schedule and starting points, and how long I think it makes sense to be on the trail each day. And then we're going to hop into On-X Offroad in a browser window and do a little bit of route plotting for each day that I have available. And people are welcome to post up in the chat as we're going through things, but I am going to leave some time at the end for some Q&A, any ideas from any of the viewers, and then we'll wrap things up. Hopefully we can do this in about 60 minutes, and if people are watching this after the fact, I'll try and put the indexes in so people can jump to the different parts of the broadcast here. So I wanted to first off give a shout out to the newest channel member, Bit Better 1957. Actually, I suspect I know who that is, but I'll confirm that at a later point. In any case, welcome to the member tier. If you're interested in becoming a member, you can get some additional behind the scenes information, as well as waypoints and campsites that you see in the videos, and things of that nature. If you check it out, if you look at the membership tab off of the Moods of Overland YouTube page, you'll see what the different tiers have to offer for a small monthly fee. In the chat as we're going along, if you would type either NRG or VAT, if you're more excited about one part or the other. I talked about taking the VAT back up north, but I'm also kind of interested in perhaps poking around the new River Gorge area. There was a couple of trails there that looked kind of interesting in On-X, excuse me, and we'll see them when we hop over to that window in a minute. And in addition, if you've wheeled the VAT or any parts of it, you know, if there are things that you would prioritize, it would be interesting to get some feedback in the chat on that. And I see Spence saying that, you know, he's been down there, used Purple Lizard maps to get there, but did some hotel stays when he was down that direction. And yeah, that's the one thing, right? Spence and I both agree to. We're at a disadvantage because there is not a Purple Lizard map for that area. So yeah, usually my route planning will involve having a Purple Lizard map, usually physical, sometimes virtual, open at the same time with On-X as well as, you know, other maps. So we're gonna have to go without that. We're just gonna have to look at the VAT route that I did download from the VAT website, and then I've got like a rough itinerary here. I kind of looked along the way, but I didn't measure miles or anything. So what I want to do is for each day, just kind of like lay a route in, look at how many miles it is and whether it looks like it's largely paved or unpaved. And, you know, then I've got some assumptions up here that, you know, maybe about 75 miles a day. If it's unpaved, if it's mostly a paved day, like the day just to get down to the VAT, like, you know, hey, it could be like up to 250 miles, that kind of thing. So let's get into it here a little bit. I'm going to hop over to On-X. I've got a few other tabs here open if we need them. This is the new River Gorge National Park Service website. I've got the Virginia Adventure Trail website, and I've got the info here for Expo Adventure Appalachia. And again, all this stuff is in the description for the video if anybody needs it from a reference perspective. So why don't we maximize this here. So this red line that's running from the lower left portion of this window up to the upper right is the Virginia Adventure Trail. And I've got it highlighted. I've clicked on it here in On-X. And so you can see, you know, it's telling us, hey, it's like 610 miles, 86,000 plus feet of elevation gain and 87,000 plus of elevation loss. And then I've got marked up here with this yellow waypoint the it's not registering my click there. Hold on a second. Huh. All right, well, that's the Ace Resort. I don't know why it's not responding to me clicking on it there. But I think the task at hand for day one is going to be making my way from the new River Gorge area up here where the expo is happening, down to perhaps around the town here that is yeah, where is, yeah, down here off of 77, where 77 comes down into the trail. Looked like maybe you know, a reasonable place to pick up the Virginia Adventure Trail, and so that's what I kind of had in mind. And Quincy, I see you've got a question there, and you know, in terms of an F-250 doing some overlanding in the Northeast Mid-Atlantic, yeah, I think it's doable. I think particularly if you're looking at Forest Service type roads, I don't know, let me know in the chat and maybe we'll circle back and have some more discussion, like where you are, like what's closest to you. I see you asking about West Virginia and Pennsylvania, New York and Virginia. I think there are certainly places you could put an F-250 through some public land and forests. So let's look at this day one then and figure that we're gonna basically make our way down from up north here to pick up the VAT. And I think the other part that we'll look at, let me bring up the route tool. So we'll build a route here. We will try and build a route here. Why is it not having trouble with it registering clicks here? Let me refresh this window, just to be sure, and hopefully we'll be able to get this thing to do what it needs to do then. But one of the things I saw up here was that there were a couple of trails that are right by the resort. There's there we go, and now it's registering those clicks, so that's good. There's this one here, this Berry Mountain Road, that runs from not far from Minden, where that resort is, where the expo is going to be, over to the east. That's marked as an easy trail. And then I also saw there was one down here, which sounded like a little bit of a moderate trail. This New River Gorge one. Mostly it just sounded like it was narrow in some places and maybe some washouts. It didn't actually sound like it would be that sketchy. But I'm thinking that potentially I would try running them too on the way down. But like first things first, I want to get a sense of, like how much time I might spend on the road. So if I start building my route and basically just say that I want to go from, and let's see, we'll use, yellow is going to be fine. Yellow dotted line makes sense. And we're going to call this that day one. And we got snap tool on, so I'm going to start it like here. And I'm just going to see if I zoom out and just pick the VAT down here, how long of a route is that? If I'm just, it's probably just going to take me like all the way down, like 77. And we just kind of say, all right, well, we're going to take this down to here. And okay, there we go. Now it's got it computed. So it's saying that's about 75 miles. And it sure looks like that's basically all pavement, because a lot of that looked to be this I-77 here. And you know what? I'm going to use a different color just because that doesn't show up real well on the screen. There we go, using the black. So we could see, we take that, ignore the red line there from where it's trying to continue drawing the route, and look at that black dashed one. So we see that's just going to take us south from up there at the resort near the New River Gorge, down to there. So 75 miles, that's pretty doable. If it's mostly highway, that's going to be, maybe a couple hours, depending on, your vehicle. But that would leave some time to potentially run a couple of these trails up here. Because I'm going to save this just so I can come back and add to it later if I decide I want to. But so I can click on these and look at the distances on them. So we had this one green trail up here, this CR25/2 Bury Mountain Road, and that's an 11 mile. So I mean, even really kind of going slow and taking pictures, maybe that's like an hour or something. And then over here we've got this New River Gorge trail. Again, these are just the featured trails that are already in On-X that people like myself that do the trail guide stuff for On-X have submitted and been vetted by On-X, and then they publish it out. So this is like a 15 mile. So it's probably the case that if I'm leaving on like a Monday, which is likely, right? If we look at things like it wraps up on Sunday, so I'm assuming that's like early afternoon. So we probably would have enough time to do that route, and as well as maybe a couple of those trails. So we're going to assume that's what day one roughly looks like. And then let's take a look at what we might do for day two. And here I'm saying, well, that could be maybe up to this New River Loop, which was a trail I saw, or that's where we're going to go from around this New River Loop up to Forest Route 177 near Brushy Top. That might be, let's see how long that is, and that might be a good day to assume we'd be able to do. So let's look at that. Let me make this window full screen again, and let's come down here. All right, and then for the rest of it, right, we're just going to be following this red line that's already here. So it's going to be pretty straightforward. So for day two, let's get a day two route together here. What we'll call the first one VAT day one. We'll call this VAT day two. Let's leave it black, and we'll just so we can distinguish it. I'm going to make it a dotted instead of a dashed line. All right, and let's assume that that's going to start. That's right. I should have extended that other route up a little further, because I said it was maybe around this loop. Because what I saw, one of the other things I like about doing this with On-X is it did indicate that there was some dispersed camping down in one of these areas here. And what was this guy? Well, I didn't want to do that. Let me undo that. I clicked on that instead of, so I'm not getting the waypoint. I started building. But let's just assume, for the sake of this, I can come back and clean it up a little bit later. Let me actually start it down here at this intersection. So we're going to start here. And like I said, there was like up this direction. What did we say? It was like around like Brushy Top, Mountain Lake. I know it was here in Jefferson National Forest, but I'm not seeing my. It was somewhere roughly in this area. Let me go a little bit further north. Oh, I can see, like, did I mark? Oh no, I know that's one that was for another route, but I left it up here because it was a place where we had stayed. So I think it must be, yeah, it must be back down here. I'm pretty sure it was near this lake. So why don't we say we're going to put it right about right about here. Except I want it to follow the route, and it looks like it didn't completely do that. But how long is that? That's only like a 37-mile segment. That's pretty short. So actually, let me undo that and bring it over to here. I want to make sure it follows the route. Yeah, there we go. And then we'll say we're going to come up here. No. Undo that guy. Sometimes, you know, when you're planning these, you got to add a couple extra points to make sure that it follows the route that you want it to. That guy, and we'll bring it down here. All right, so there we go. So that's about a 55-mile. Let's assume. How much further if I come up into this area? It's like an 88-mile. Let's bring it up to here. I want to follow the route. No, it keeps wanting to go that way. Come over here. There we go. And then up to here. Alright. And then up to this spot here. No, it still wanted to veer off. What it's doing here, right, is that even though it's an off-road app, it's always trying to take like the shortest path. And sometimes that isn't always what you want. So you just end up setting some additional waypoints here. Okay. All right, so that looks pretty good. I mean, that's showing like 93 miles, but I think the reality is I'll add a couple more to the first day. So I'm looking back here to the chat, and I see Spence is chatting with Quincy about the full-size vehicle thing. Johnny, hey, how you doing? Good to see you there on the chat as well. Yeah, Spence, you're saying that you can load GPXs into On-X. The VAT you've got to go download from the website. So actually, let's hop over there just for 1 second. Right, so if you go to the VAT website, which is virginiaadventuretrail.com, they've got route files right here. Right, so you can come here, you can click on it, you can download them, and then you're just going to bring them into On-X. In the depending on whether you're doing it in the web or whether you're doing it in the app itself. But you're going to come into like my content. I do want to keep. I do want to keep the route. Let me save this. Then we can look at that. All right. So with that saved, right, if you go to my content, you can do an import here, Spence, and then you can select it, and you're going to do the same thing if you're doing it in the app. You're going to come to my content, you're going to do an import, you're going to point to the GPX file, then you're going to have it. That's how I got this into On-X Offroad. All right, so we've got a couple of days here now, let me hop back over to to this that I was using for my my planning purposes. So I mean, in theory, we've got I have to look. I didn't realize that while I was actually doing this, when the stuff I looked at before, I should have dropped like a waypoint for, because I'm like, I'm not finding exactly what I'm talking about in my notes here. But we've got a couple of days planned, right? and we're going to keep moving north. And I know I talked about like Fenwick Mines, and then I talked about Forest Route 181. So let's see if we can find those, and hopefully kind of pick up the thread that I was working on. Let me see what this is. I think this was from when I was doing Expo East a couple of years ago. Oh no, that's what that is. Okay. Yeah, when I came back from Cape Lookout last year, um, you know, Bill and I had one night that we spent on our way back north, and we did that in Jefferson National Forest. Man, it took us longer than we thought it was going to take us to get there. But we were trying to come to this area, and actually we found a real nice campsite, which I'm assuming is this one that's got the green on it. Yeah, up in here, and I realized that actually that was that. I didn't see that when I was scrolling around in here. I guess I didn't zoom in far enough. Okay, so that's good to know. So I've actually been through this part over here, interestingly enough. So let's see though. We ended up. Is that 177 there? Yeah, that is 177. So we did end up more or less roughly in the area that I was anticipating. I know for sure I'm gonna have to go back and like adjust these waypoints a little bit from day to day, but this is not 177 here, but we are kind of close to the area that I thought we were targeting. So I'm gonna leave it as is and continue building the route. Good. I see, Spence, you found what I was talking about for loading up GPX files, which is good because if you're gonna bring in like sometimes bringing in like a BDR GPX file or like Daniel Boone Backcountry Byway, same thing. You can I think you can get the GPX. I think theirs is also on Avenza. That's another trip I'm looking at for this fall. So let's add the next day here. And I'm still, like I said, I know I'm gonna have to adjust these a little bit, but all right. So I'm gonna switch the weight. I like switching between the dotted and the dashed, just so I can kind of distinguish between days when I'm doing this. So let's see. Looks like in this case, this part of the VAT is following a good amount of pavement down here to like Newcastle. Okay. If I had to stop for a camp, obviously. And I'm building a route, so I can't see. I'm assuming from looking at this here, it looks like maybe this is like a blue trail back here. So it looks like maybe they've got a kind of a go around if you don't want to take the blue trail. Oh yeah, it's Pottspout and Jeep Trail. I've heard of that. I think I've seen a video or two from there. Let's assume we're gonna take it for giggles here, and so then we would come down over here, and then down to here. And what's it? I don't know why it's got that extra. Well, let me undo. Because if I took this up to there and this over to here, there we go. That to there, that to there. Yeah, and forgive me if you guys are just kind of looking at my neck. I gotta lean in a little bit here to see where stuff's at. There we go. Okay, now it's not taking kind of a crazy circuitous route. All right. So, and we're up to about 68 miles. So, I'm going to assume, how far is it if I come all the way up here? We'll say to about here. All right, so that's about 80 miles. So that actually looks like a pretty good day. So this was that day 3. All right, I'm gonna save that. And like I said, I'm probably gonna have to go back and adjust these from a camping perspective. I don't know why I'm not seeing. I know I've got that layer enabled, didn't I? Oh, dispersed camping's off. How did that get turned off? Oh, that's why I'm not seeing it, guys. There we go. All right. Well, and when I turn it on, you see this yellow here. What happens in On-X is trails that On-X is aware of having dispersed camping along them. It puts like a yellow highlighter. Yeah, see here, there's another one down here. That's also probably part of the reason why I wasn't finding the areas I was looking at. So yeah, this one could even end up being okay because there's obviously a little bit of camping here, and there's certainly camping down here. So if I had to, right, I could modify the route to break off here onto, what is that, 818, looks like County 818, down to Forest Service Road 5020, and it says that there's allowed within 150 feet of the road, which is standard national forest kind of stuff. Johnny, yeah, I see your comment there about the Outer Banks looking really nice. Yeah, highly recommend Cape Lookout. I'm assuming you might have looked at a couple of my videos in that regard. Yeah, there's some good stuff down there. Cape Lookout is a particularly good time as long as you're prepared for the wind and the sun. That's the thing you gotta be a little bit extra prepared for, is the only thing I will say. But it's really pretty, and it's very remote, and there's not many people over there, since you got to take a ferry to get over there. All right, so let's look at day 4, and what that might potentially, how long that potentially might be. So we're going to build this route. We're going to go back to the dotted line. And we're going to say that day 4. We're going to start that down here. Hopefully no one's getting motion sickness from that zooming in and out thing. It's just what you have to do when you're navigating around here. So this again looks like a decent amount of pavement to connect to another part of Jefferson National Forest. I think this is really primarily through Jefferson. One of the things I'm going to do, if you kind of paid attention when I had the screen back up where I had my itinerary and that kind of stuff, at the end of this, I'm kind of thinking I might run over to Monongahela National Forest in West Virginia. That is one of my more favorite places to go, and it looked like that would be a pretty good time, assuming this doesn't take longer than kind of forecast. So we're up to like 37 miles here, so we still got, and this part of it looks like a fair amount of pavement, so I'm thinking we could probably push this one out past like a 75 mile. Yeah, because we gotta get, you're back up here before, and that's still not a forest road, even though that's where we're coming back into the forest. Okay, here we go. Now we're coming back into, we're coming back into it here. So let's bring it. If I bring it to here, what are we up to? We're still only at like 60 miles. So we're definitely, let's bring it all the way down here. Let's give me this. 65. Yeah, so maybe we're looking at camping somewhere along here before coming back out. Although again, it did look like, yeah, it's like 70, 72, 73 miles there. But then we can get further up here. Let's come up like to this area. How far is that? 80. Yeah. We can get up into this. 85 with as much pavement I was seeing. Let's bring it. We'll bring it to about here. But we'll assume we might stop earlier that day. So let's save that one. But we can see again along this 176 forest route, we've got we got dispersed camping along there, and some other places along this part of the route. All right, so zooming back out, how much further we have to go here to get ourselves. Okay, and then it cuts back over. Okay. All right. So then let's assume this next day we're going to do day 5. How are we doing on time here? Not too bad. So let's just kind of get these next couple of ones in here. So that was day 4. Let's do day 5. And we'll switch back to the dashed line. Alright, and we're going to start that here. And yeah, here you can see too, right? It looks to me like, this GPX file was planned at a level of resolution that was zoomed out further, because it doesn't really snap to these roads here. And you can't always assume that the roads in your base layer are actually like one, unless you record it and show that, then you're confident that what you've got is where the roads actually are. But when you see straight lines like this, once you zoomed in, that to me says like, okay, well, someone planned it with different waypoints, and they got drawn together, but they didn't. Whatever software they were using didn't snap it to the road, or their base map was just lower resolution. So that's not super surprising to see. Okay, so this is another one where I think the dotted lines are like the optional routes. They're slightly harder. We're going to say that we're going to do this. This part here where it's got the sort of no entry thing, I think is I'll come and look at it. I think it's a seasonal thing, and because we're planning it right now, that's why it's showing up that way. Oh, I didn't like that click up there. I wonder if it's going to let me because of the... Oh, hold on. What's it doing? Is it just lagging? Oh, there we go. Alright, hold on. Let me undo. I think... Yeah, okay. The first one was okay. It just took a little bit of time. Alright. Okay, and this is an area that I kind of, yeah, okay. I know where this is. This is an area I had planned some stuff for previously. And didn't end up with, I forget. This was when I was going down to Georgia Traverse, actually. And I was marking some potential campsites. So there were some that looked pretty good along here. So, um, I'm gonna leave this as my route, and then oh, actually, let me undo. It ends up going over this way. It doesn't come back down over there to the east. Okay, yeah, it's gonna come over here to the west. There we go. All right, bring that out here. This one looks like it's going to have some pavement as it traverses back. Where is it going? It's going from Washington to just a different tract of it, it looks like. Okay. All right. And let's bring this up here. What are we at? About 80 miles. We know we had a little bit of pavement down there coming back over here. So let's push this one out a little bit further. Oh no, don't go that way. Come up here. Come up here with the yellow line with all the dispersed camping along it. All right, and that puts us, that's like 100 miles. Let's stop it there. Let's say that's day 5. All right, and what I'm realizing is I'm actually, because a lot of times one of the other things I'll do is I'll use the line distance tool. It's super easy on mobile, on your phone or on your tablet, because you can use 2 fingers and just tap at 2 points. Here, yeah, you're going to click one place and click another place, like that, and it tells you how far it is. And that's great. And for like as the crow flies, that's really useful. But part of what we're seeing here, I'm realizing too, is that unsurprisingly, when you got a bunch of twisty like mountain type roads, things are much further than as the crow flies. So that's part of what I think we're seeing here, is I'm looking at how long it's going to potentially take as I add like a day 6 here. How far are we from the end here? Not super far, it doesn't look like. Yeah, okay. All right, so let's see if this will kind of get us to the end. So that was day 5, yes. Yeah, all right. So let's now add day 6 and see how many miles that looks like. And this is gonna help me determine, if nothing else, what we're looking at in terms of how many days it's really going to take to effectively do this. That day 6. All right, so day 6, we're going to bring this up here. That looks reasonable. Over to here. Down there, up to here. This one's going to be, it looks like a nice little windy road along a ridge there, doesn't it? All those little squiggly lines. We know that's going to be a good time. A lot of switchbacks. Probably pretty scenic. What are we at? We're up to like almost 50 miles already. Bring this out to here. Over to here. Yeah, I'm realizing this is probably going to take longer than I anticipated. And I may have to account for that if I want to take an extra day and go like over to Monongahela. Because there we're up to like 80 miles there, and this was like, there was not a lot of pavement on this guy. Alright, so why don't I assume we end about here. That's like 85. So I'm gonna save that there. And then let's add a day 7. And then I'm gonna have to make some decisions. How are we doing on time here? Alright, we're coming up on like a quarter of. Let's just real quick see how long a day 7 would be by building the rest of this route up to the end of the VAT. So we'll go back to the dash and we'll say VAT day 7. Start that about here. And it looks like again we have a choice just to do something different. This one we'll say we're going to stay on the main route, because a harder route usually implies it's going to take more time. Now I want you to come down here, then up to here. No. There it is again, trying to, there we go. That is one, you know, I don't think anyone's got a route building tool that says, hey, I definitely always want to take, you know, dirt and the slow way. If anyone's going to do it, though, at some point, you would think it would be On-X. Now bring it over here. We're going to follow it to the letter. Bring it back here and then over here. Oh, it does not like going that way. Wonder why. Smaller road? Something. Probably have to zoom in a lot further to figure out why it doesn't like that. Alright, so that one's right at like 74 miles. So alright, there we've got a 7-day route that, you know, takes us, you know, over the better part of the VAT. Let me scroll back out here. Yeah, so the only thing we wouldn't be doing if we follow this route religiously is this portion down here, the southern portion. You can see this line is left out here for reference. That's the Monongahela 200 that somebody had created. I think at the end of last year for On-X, they did a video about it. And what happened there? Did my window just crash? Yeah, it's making its way back up. So if I come back, so how many days did I say that I had, right? I thought it was like, you know, that would be the first day would be down. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, you know, that's not bad. But one of the things, you know, I had put this sticky here just as a reminder. It's like, you know, Sunday the 10th is Mother's Day. And again, I was kind of saying, wow, I'd really like to go over to Thomas, West Virginia, maybe go to the Purple Fiddle, see a show there. Um, so, uh, yeah, I don't know. I got to see. Spence, yeah, I know. I hear you. Story of your life, right? Lots of miles to cover, not enough days to take off. Yeah, that's that's always the challenge. Um, all right, so what we have here, is a route that we can use. I'm probably going to tweak this a bit because I really want to kind of go back and consider, the camping, as well as if I really want to go up to the Purple Fiddle and see a show on like Friday, Saturday. So I know from past experience, it's one of my favorite places in Thomas, West Virginia. It's just this little small venue. Tends to be like, country, bluegrass, blues kind of music. And they only really have acts Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon. Sunday afternoon's really chill. It's kind of nice because it's that one's free. There's no tickets. They tend to be smaller acts. But yeah, put it on your list to go to the Purple Fiddle in Thomas. Thomas and Davis are these two towns that are right next to one another, just outside of like Blackwater Falls State Park, near the Canaan. It's not pronounced Canaan. Somebody local told me it's Canaan. It's not like the biblical pronunciation, even though it's spelled that way. So the Canaan Valley there, and that sort of famous, like, loop and that stuff. Yeah, not all of us can be like Rick and take all the time. It's good to be retired, folks. I'm not, and neither is Spence, and that we always talk about that. Those are our friends that can pull it off. All right, so for those of you that are on the chat here, questions or ideas, things, I'm going to refine this further, and after I do, I'm probably going to post it on my website, which is new. If you've not checked out moodsofOverland.com since last weekend, it now actually has a blog and a pointer to the store. Previously, it had just redirected to the YouTube channel page. And the store is actually going to be coming onto that site in the near future as well, as opposed to being on a separate one. When you click on the store, it looks slightly different. If anyone has been to store.moodsofOverland.com versus just looking at the YouTube page tab for the store, which surfaces the same products but in a different interface. But yeah, it's another way you could potentially support the channel if you want to. You can buy a hat or a t-shirt, sweatshirt, stickers, that kind of stuff. And I know some of you on the chat have done that, and I thank you for that. Helps defer camping costs and things of that nature. But questions, comments, etc. We've gotten to that part here. I'm looking at the chat. I still have to figure out, this is new streaming software for me that I'm using. And when I originally brought it up, there was a chat window and it went away. So I'm looking at my iPad over here. Would have been nice to have it as a floating window over top while I was doing everything. But at least I've got enough screens around to still be able to do that. And I know there's a slight delay between myself and what you guys are seeing at this point, because I think there have been some midstream ads that YouTube has put in. But I'm going to pause and say, hey, questions, comments, things of that nature, anything you all would like me to address while you've got me here live, before we call it an evening in about 5 minutes time. And I'm just waiting for the chat to catch up here. That's one thing I kind of didn't account for, was the fact that I was going to be slightly ahead when we talk about the chat. Um, yeah, Pete showing up at the last minute and asking if there's dates. Yeah, there are actually. Um, this Expo Adventure Appalachia is May 1st through the 3rd, and therefore the trip I was planning is like the 3rd through the 9th kind of time frame. Um, and yeah, we'll see how that plays out. That probably doesn't fit real well into your schedule. We may have to do another like Monongahela run, like at some point once you guys are on break. Um, but that's the plan right now. All right. We're getting close to 10 o'clock here Eastern time. Um, I've gone through what I plan to go through with this. I want to thank everybody um, for connecting and watching the broadcast. I really do appreciate it. This is kind of the first time I'm trying to do this studio live stream. Figure out this software and go through something like this. Hopefully, it was something that you found somewhat useful. You know, post up in the comments. This will go. It'll become like a regular type video after I close out the live stream and YouTube processes it. Post in the comments if there's things that you liked about this format. If there are things that you would like to see in the future in terms of live streams. I'm kind of experimenting with the idea of maybe doing like a quarterly live stream, something like that. Um, and Yeah, Spence, 100 miles a day is kind of the comfort limit if it's mostly off road. Um, yeah, Johnny, your stock Jeep is going to be fine for the stuff in the Pine Barrens, particularly the stuff that's still open. Um, and update for you, because I know we were trying to get out there, and I had that issue with the harness in my truck. I do have a harness that in theory shows up tomorrow. I'm on a business trip coming up this week, but hopefully the weekend after I'll have that addressed, and then we can get out there. Um, uh, okay, that's good. Actually, that's good feedback, Pete. Thank you. I thought about that ahead of time, and then I forgot. I do have a zoom control here. Um, Most of the stuff we were doing was on the map, but you know what? That was probably pretty small too. Um, I'm on kind of a big screen as well, and I forget that yeah, sometimes it's not real easy to read. But yeah, if we do this again, I'll take that feedback into consideration, and we'll see if we can zoom these in like a little tighter, or I can drop the resolution down or something, just so people can read stuff. Yeah, Spence, thanks, appreciate that. I mean, at least replacing a harness with another factory harness shouldn't be too difficult. Knock on wood. But I do kind of have the sense that I might have to drop the gas tank to get at the connectors for uh, the fuel level sender and the fuel pump, because all that's on the same harness. All right. All right, I'm gonna call this one, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, please do like this video, subscribe to the channel, consider becoming a member if you want to support or buy something from the store. But most importantly, just keep watching, and please do comment. Let me know where you guys are going this year, and what you would potentially like to see from videos that I've got coming. This should be a pretty good trip. This will be like May time frame, but I got a bunch of other stuff potentially planned as well. Thanks again. Thanks for watching. Have a good night. See you all via YouTube soon. Take care.